these two programs. Hook 'em horns and hotty toddy, it's time to go here at the pavilion at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is celebrating its 50 years of women's basketball. They're wearing throwback jerseys in their white jerseys at home, and Texas in their burnt orange. And you're going to see right away, Ole Miss going to pick up the pressure to try to make a statement early.
And Coach Joe said they may score out of it, but we're sending a message by picking up and trying to trap immediately.
So Rory Harmon, the tremendous point guard for Texas, rises up and knocks down the first basket of the game for the Longhorns. As we take a look at the Ole Miss starters, 3 starters have had career nights in 3 SEC games. We talked about Chinu. She had a 29-point game against Florida. Kennedy Todd Williams, 25 against Vandy. And Maddie Scott coming off a career-high 30 points in their win at Mississippi State.
And you've already seen it, both teams. They want to extend in some full court pressure. I said it in the open. They want to feast off of your miscues. They want to disrupt and turn those into transition buckets.
Shea Holley down to Jones, who's coming off a tremendous game in the Texas win over Tennessee. The Texas starters as they go back on defense, Rory Harmon, Shea Holley, and we have a new starter. Aaliyah Moore is not going to be available today, so Jacqueline Mwenentanda will get the start along with Booker and Jones for Texas. And a blocking call on Shea Holley called that will send Ole Miss to the free throw line.
Well, Ole Miss worked on this play and shoot around. They want to get Madison Scott going early. Just a post-to-post screen, and Madison Scott turns that corner. Holley there just a little bit late.
I mentioned Ole Miss coming off a bye week. They went into the bye week with the win over Mississippi State in Starkville. And Madison Scott in that game, in that 30-point career high, 11 field goals made in that game, 7 of 8 from the free throw line. She hit her only 3-pointer. She was absolutely on fire.
And yes, she got to the free throw line and made them, but it was that mid-range jumper that we have become accustomed to watching from Madison Scott. She was on is an understatement in that game.
Mwenentanda, number 32, getting the start for Aaliyah Moore today for Texas. They're on a 3-game winning streak, coming off a win over Tennessee at home, 80-76 earlier this week. 5 on the shot clock. Mwenentanda still dribbling. 1 on the shot clock. Holley has it blocked, and the whistle blown for a shot clock violation. Ole Miss wanted to take off and take it on in transition, as Vic Schaefer in his 5th year at Texas, of course, had all that success at Mississippi State, and now Texas back in the SEC as he took Mississippi State to 2 championship title games, runner-up in both those times, and he's got a team that wants to make some noise in the SEC and nationally once again this year, 7th ranked right now.
Brendan, something to watch for both these teams defensively. They'll do a lot of switching. Both coaches said we've got to exploit those mismatches.
Yolette McKeown, in her 7th season at Ole Miss, has led Ole Miss to the NCAA tournament each of the last 3 years. A couple of seasons ago had that big victory. Similar defense regarding Rory Harmon in this game. To that, we'll talk about that as the shot clock winds down. 3 on the shot clock. Sadler with the ball, blocked by Jones and stolen back by Sadler. And she puts it in. What a turn of events. On the other end, the whistle blew when the shot clock violation occurred. This time, when Jones got the rebound, it did not, as Shea Holley drives the baseline.
Well, I know Vic Schaefer thought it should have been their ball, but there's that old adage, the ball don't lie. And so I agree with you, because the whistle probably saved 2 points for Texas.
Shea Holley reached in as Todd Williams went to the basket. It's off Ole Miss.
Well, here's the bottom line. It doesn't matter if you get a block. It doesn't matter if you have the ball, because the opponent is coming to take it from you. That time, Sadler with the quick hands and a first of many mid-range jumpers that we're going to see in this game.
Yeah, these two teams do not rely on three-point shooting at all. Texas averages just over 3 three-pointers a game. Ole Miss just under 6 three-pointers a game, so more than Texas. But really, as you mentioned, they love the mid-range as Muenentanda drives in off the backboard.
I mean, these two teams are almost like throwback to the 80s.
Right.
Great defense, great rebounding, and want to get to the rim or will knock down that mid-range.
It's appropriate that Ole Miss is wearing the throwback jerseys to the 80s today.
And Brendan, we've talked about how both these teams want to turn you over. Both these teams are really good on the glass. I think it's possessions game. Who's going to get the most shots up?
Chinu, 9 steals in the win over Mississippi State, gets one there.
And something for every player on the court tonight. They have got to meet passes because these teams are long and they want to shoot the gaps.
And they're two of the best teams in the country in turnover margin. As far as a whistle and a foul there, both teams take care of the ball pretty well, but they force a lot of turnovers.
And here's one. Sira Chinu times it perfectly, shoots that gap. And what I love is she didn't venture wide. She stayed tight, and that kept the defender behind her. Easy two for the freshman.
So the foul was on Chinu, her first. And Texas will take it inbounds on the baseline with 20 on the shot clock.
And against Tennessee, another long team, Texas struggled at times to get the ball inbound and cleanly. Eager to see any adjustments here this evening.
Taylor Jones rising up. She had 21 points in that win over Tennessee.
But it wasn't the points. It was her rebounding, her rim protection, and I thought she was just huge for the Longhorns.
She had more offensive rebounds than Tennessee. And Tennessee leads the nation in offensive rebound. Nice block out by Jones.
I got a chance to talk to Vic Schaefer last night, and I said, again, that you guys won was not surprising. It's how you dominated the offensive glass that really surprised me in your win over the Lady Vols.
Star Jacobs picks up the dribble.
Star Jacobs, another player who on the season has more offensive rebounds than she does defensive rebounds for Ole Miss.
That's what makes this game so intriguing. They're such great rebounders, great defenders, and a lot of legends in the building as Ole Miss has some former coaches and players back that are celebrating 50 years of women's basketball here. Muenentanda picks up the foul. Lynn Dunn, one of those coaches. She coached here at Ole Miss in the 70s, of course, a senior advisor for the Indiana Fever. Carol Ross, my old broadcast partner, and a great player and coach at Ole Miss. And somewhere in that front row, we'll show him a little bit better later, Van Chancellor, 4-time WNBA champion with the Houston Comets, coached here at Ole Miss. And a beautiful three-point shot from the corner by Chinu.
One thing, because we talk about the defensive pressure, is how cleanly can both these teams get into their half-court offense. We've seen some time get taken off the clock on both ends for both these teams.
High arcing shot from Madison Booker. Has a little smile on her face as it goes off the top of the backboard. We've got a good one here in Oxford. Ole Miss up by 1. To enjoy Madison being back here in her home state.
Well, Vic Schaefer said, yeah, she took all our ticket allotment. That's how important this game was to her and her family. But I had a chance to ask Madison Booker yesterday because she said her goal when going to Texas was to put Mississippi on the map for women's basketball. I said, what did you mean by that? She said, listen, there have been so many great players out of the state of Mississippi, but I've been giving so much, so many more opportunities, and I want to do the state justice by making the most of this opportunity. It is really touching the maturity of this young lady.
Madison Scott with the jumper there. Yes, one of the greatest players of all time is from the state of Mississippi. Lucy Harris that led Delta State to 3 national championships in the 70s, grew up in Mississippi. And so it's so great to hear Madison Booker talk about that legacy in this state and what she's been given as she gets her first basket of the game on that drive.
You think about the legacy in this building. Peggy Gillum's here somewhere, one of the greats of the game. And Madison Booker is well on her way to establishing that as well.
We have had great balanced scoring here in the early going. Both teams, 4 of the 5 starters for Ole Miss have scored. All 5 Texas starters have scored so far as Kennedy Todd Williams gets that 15-footer to drop.
I'm going to say it again, possessions game. Ole Miss misses the first time, stays with it to get that second chance opportunity.
And how important is it when you're on the road, you're playing your 3rd game in 6 days, Texas, to get everybody in the scoring column early?
I think, one, it just makes it more versatile. You can't key on one person. And I think for Texas, and we saw this against the Lady Vols, the inside out, when you have Jones going, and then you've got the outside scoring as well.
Star Jacobs picked up the foul. I believe it will be on the shot, sending Taylor Jones to the free throw line. Taylor Jones, who spent her first 2 years at Oregon State before transferring to Texas. First 3 years, excuse me, at Oregon State. She came to Texas last year, was all Big 12 honorable mention, and has had a terrific start to this season. Such a leader. Maddie Scott from the SEC logo.
So far, we're seeing the ability of Ole Miss to beat their players one-on-one, get into the paint, and elevate for that knockdown. And when the rotation has been there, they've been able to kick out to get some open shots.
6 points for Maddie Scott coming off that 30-point game against Mississippi State. Mwinintanda spinning so strong. She is in the lineup for Aaliyah Moore, who started to practice today at shoot-around, but her knee was bothering her to the extent we think she likely is not available in this afternoon's game. And that goes right into the hands of Rory Harmon, who won't get an easier steal than that, and she is fouled by Sadler on the drive to the basket.
A subplot for both these teams is they do foul a lot. Their opponents on the season are averaging at least 20% of the points per game from the free throw line. So not only will it force coaches into some early substitutions, but it's also going to give some freebies to their opponent.
And on cue, KK Deans checks in, who was a starter earlier in the year for Ole Miss, #1 in white, but has been coming off the bench as of late.
And Ole Miss in that matchup zone on the out of bounds, they just want to force an opponent to throw it out and then have to reset up an offense.
Good start for Ole Miss, who's only lost 1 game at home this year, and a illegal screen called on Taylor Jones. That's her first foul. And quickly, Kyla Oldacre will check in, the 6'6" transfer from Miami.
Well, Oldacre has length. She has size in the paint. But one game plan that Coach O said that we're going to hit is we want to go at the bigs of Texas and try to get by their feet and get to the rim.
KK Deans, who has some familiarity with Texas as she steps on the inline. She started her career at West Virginia, so they were in the Big 12 Conference against one another for the first couple of years of KK Dean's career. Then she transferred to Florida, then to Ole Miss last year when she hurt her knee after the first 6 games of the year. Harmon into the paint. Money.
I mean, these two teams could put on a clinic on mid-range pull-up jumpers. Their ability to get to that spot, whether it's the short corner spot or middle of the paint, and then just elevate.
We hear announcers, and I talk about it a lot too, that it's a lost art form in the game today, but these two games really embrace that mid-range jumper.
Well, Star Jacobs, this is one of those more explosive, faster post players for Ole Miss, attacking the freshman off the bounce. She doesn't get there in time.
So that's the second foul on Winnetonda, again, who's starting for Aaliyah Moore, who is likely not available in this game. So Texas much shorter in the bench with that situation, and now Winnetonda picks up her second foul.
Well, and I'll go back to what you said in the open, Brenda. Third game in 6 days for Texas, and we know this is an Ole Miss defense that may not feast early in a game, but they want to have that wear-down effect come the fourth quarter. Now, the flip side of that is it's kind of Vic Schaefer's MO as well with his full-court defense.
And he decides to leave Winnetonda in the game with the 2 fouls at this point.
Winnetonda has great upside. I love her length. She's explosive off the bounce.
And then she draws the foul on Iwala, Christine Iwala, who's into the game. That's her first foul trying to defend Winnetonda.
Texas going into a lot of sets in the half court because one, Ole Miss is scoring and getting the defense solid in the half court. And the one thing Ole Miss has done really well so far is made Texas get deep into the shot clock, made them start these sets later than they want to, so they can't get into multiple options.
Shea Holly from the corner. A couple of players going to the floor. A foul called. Who will the foul be called on?
It's on Chinu.
Chinu, that's her second foul. Watch away from the basketball. Chinu trying to block out Oldacre.
Yep, she clamped. That was a good call by the official. The fans here don't agree with me, but I saw the clamp down.
Oldacre at the line, misses her first. She's a 70% free throw shooter on the year. At the table, Jordan Lee, number 7, set to check in for Texas. Along with Kennedy Todd Williams will come back in for Ole Miss. And Oldacre misses both. Star Jacobs there for the rebound. Under a minute to play in the first quarter. And a beautiful shot after picking up her second foul. Chinu comes down and just drains a 3. She's got 8 points here in the early going. Rory Harmon against that length of Maddie Scott. Booker going to work.
I would go right at Chinu if I'm Texas.
And Booker back irons it. Oldacre rebounds it. And now this time Oldacre called for the clamp on the rebound. That's her first foul. And now Winnetonda going to take a seat for Texas to protect her with the 2 fouls. And at the free throw line, Iwala. Well, here's our featured ESPN2 Big Monday women's matchup. Pow Pow and number 2 South Carolina in Knoxville to take on Talasia Cooper and number 17 Tennessee at 7. Wow, Tennessee 4 losses by single digits total.
4 points or less.
Shot clock is off, 6 seconds left in the first quarter. Clearing the lane for Harmon. She is blocked. Oldacre has it tied up, and with 0.7 on the clock, it will be Ole Miss basketball.
That's a break for Texas. That means that they'll get to start the quarter with the ball.
Ole Miss shooting 64% in the first quarter as they lead the number 7 team in the country, 21-14. Much to generations in this game.
And to coaches, to players, to administrators, and to the SEC as a whole. I thought it was very fitting that former head coaches of Ole Miss spoke about Pat Summitt this week, Van Chancellor, as well as Kel Ross, talking about how if they didn't bring it, Pat challenged them because Pat believed in the better good and was always willing to help them be better, even at the detriment of Tennessee. And we just all owe Pat Summitt so much.
All of us throughout women's basketball, and that way, I know we have a lot of new women's basketball fans watching, and it's just so important to honor Pat Summitt and all those who came before. We appreciate her so much. As we start here in the second quarter, Madison Booker scored on the other end to draw Texas within 5, a foul called. But let's take a look at the numbers for Texas home and away.
And this is an SEC play, and yes, some people will say, well, they played at South Carolina, but you got to remember, they dominated the offensive glass in that game, had 28 more possessions and just couldn't do anything with it. But that is 17-point difference in their scoring home and away, and their opponent's 12 points a game different. And then, to me, it's the biggest thing is on the glass. It's a difference of 12 a game against a really good Ole Miss rebounding team.
Yeah, so far, Ole Miss out-rebounding Texas in this game, 8-5 overall. On that play, Oldacre picked up her second foul, sending Iwala to the free throw line.
And so far in the game for Texas, they have 5 assists on 6 made field goals. So I would like to see them utilize the sets, use the screens, come off the screens, a little bit less one-on-one basketball.
A one-on-one there as Booker too strong. You mentioned over the last 3 games in a row, she's shooting almost 57% from the field. She's missed a few early here.
Yeah, and Brenton, it just speaks to what kind of competitor this young lady is. A lot of questions after her cold shooting night at South Carolina. And Vic Schaefer said, I didn't even worry about it. We didn't talk about it because I believe in who she is, and she just got to work.
Harmon picks up her dribble.
Texas going more to the dribble drive here.
Harmon pulls up, no. Oldacre can't get the rebound, and here comes Star Jacobs with the basketball. Todd Williams has someone who got a piece of it, and then they're going to call the foul on Star Jacobs as Oldacre was falling to the floor, and that's her second.
Her second personal foul, team number 1.
So we knew both these teams commit a lot of fouls, and so we see some foul trouble in the early going for Texas. Both Mwinintanda and Oldacre have 2 fouls. Iwala, as well as now Star Jacobs with 2 fouls for Ole Miss.
And can we just talk about the faith Coach Joe has in the freshman Chinu? He's got those 2 quick fouls and has left her on the floor.
That's really remarkable. I mean, she is a 21-year-old freshman. She's not a typical freshman, as Taylor Jones back on the court scores and draws Texas within 3, but a freshman nonetheless.
When you got 2 6-year players on the floor, and Star Jacobs and Taylor Jones. I'm sorry, in my senior year after 4, my body was telling me it's done. I don't know how these women are still doing it.
Taylor Jones with another basket. She got a little time on the bench to get those legs a little bit refreshed, and she scored the last 2 in a row. She's got 8.
And Lordy help me, Texas is in a zone.
Wow.
Only 2 possessions before that possession have they run zone.
Jones gets a block shot here, but let's watch her scoring on the other end.
Well, it was a complete call from the bench. It was an overload to get all help side out of the way, so it was an easy lob for her. And then she just keeps the ball high on the top-down pass. Great touch around the rim for Taylor Jones.
And that's great documentation as the ball touches Sadler, but goes into the backcourt of you by 2 possessions of zone this year. I bet in the last several years for Vic Schaefer, he has not run much zone at all. He is a hard-nosed man-to-man coach and has been for years.
Great box out by Texas. And that was one thing Vic Schaefer said to us today. Our rebounder numbers are good, but our box outs are not. It's an area of concern for him. He knows they need to get better at it.
Jordan Lee, the freshman out of Stockton, California, with that mid-range jumper. She averages about 6 points a game off the bench for Texas. And Texas able to take the lead. A foul called on on the floor on Taylor Jones. Our officials today, Jenna Cross, Felicia Grinter, and Bill Lawrence, as that's the second foul now on Taylor Jones.
I don't know if you can read lips or not, but to summarize, Vic Schaefer was not happy with that call.
In summary.
In PG-rated summary, he wasn't happy.
Rory Harmon got a hand on the ball, but it is called off Texas. The jacket is off. I didn't see exactly when it came off, but if it hadn't been off before, it would certainly be off now for Vic Schaefer. Texas has outscored Ole Miss 8-0 here in the second quarter after being down by 7 at the end of the first. What does Ole Miss need to do to get their rhythm back?
Well, Ole Miss traditionally, and Coach Yo said that, we've got our identity. It is back to defend and disrupt. But they feed off their defense. And so now as Texas is scoring, it's almost chicken and egg. They got to get stops to where their mojo gets going on the offensive end. Overload again.
And there it is to Jones, and she is fouled. Right now, Jones with a decided size advantage inside for Texas, and they're feeding her the ball.
Well, it starts with a low post defense. You see Kennedy Todd Williams fronting, and so that means no one is there because the clear out bringing that other guard high. It's a lob, and Texas should keep running that play unless Ole Miss is going to go to start playing behind in the low post, which I think is difficult. Well, here comes Iwala because they don't have the size to match up with Jones.
Jones makes her first free throw. The foul was called on Sadler. It's her second, so the fouls are piling up now for Ole Miss with Chinu, Sadler, and Jacobs all with 2 fouls. And Taylor Jones, a 72% free throw shooter, makes both free throws, and Ole Miss brings Christine Iwala back into the game.
The player to watch for Ole Miss against the zone is Madison Scott. Her ability to flash as well as seal on the weak side.
Chinu through several defenders to score and finally get Ole Miss on the scoreboard here in the second quarter.
Yeah, like I said, watch Chinu in the half court. This freshman is special.
She's got 10 points. As Rory Harmon splashes it down, she's got 6 to complement Taylor Jones, who's got double digits for Texas. Taylor Jones with 10 points, 3 for 3 from the floor, and 4 for 4 from the free throw line.
Holly got away with one there.
Scott inside to Iwala, blocked by Jones, and a couple of players go to the floor, and it's off Ole Miss.
Well, teams will go to zones to protect the paint. And then you have someone like Chinu, who's got change of pace and can get by 3 of those players who are defending in the paint and make it look so easy.
She is really fun to watch. The freshman out of Mali had a career-high 29 points a few games ago against Florida.
And 22 of those in the first half against Florida.
It was incredible. Booker, somewhat quiet so far with just 4 points on 2 of 5. That's the first miss of the game for Taylor Jones. Iwala calling for it inside. She wants it, and it's blocked by Booker.
Iwala got away with the travel there.
And Todd Williams picked up the ball, or picked up the foul. It'll be Texas basketball when we come back. They're leading by 3.
Offensively, and then what does Vic Schaefer do? He goes to the zone, and that has slowed Ole Miss down. And then flip side of that, then Texas started getting scores, and that's killed the mojo of Ole Miss because we know this is a team that feeds off their defense.
That's Christy Thomas-Gutty. I'm Brenda Van Lingen. Thanks for joining us here in Oxford, Mississippi. Ole Miss at 4-2, just a game behind Texas. It's in a 3-way tie for second in the SEC, along with LSU and Kentucky. So a big game, the only meeting of the year between these two. And Texas has outscored Ole Miss 12-2 here in the second quarter. Shea Holly ties it up from Maddie Smith, but it'll stay on this end.
And that was well scouted by Texas. Helps that defense sitting there waiting for the dribble.
Maddie Scott to trigger it in. 20 on the shot clock. Todd Williams.
And Brenda, because neither of these teams shoot a lot of threes, you're seeing players go under the high on-ball screens to beat them at a spot.
Maddie Scott and one.
Well, when you're struggling offensively, get it to your veteran. Madison Scott just takes that ball one-on-one. Her length and her soft touch separates her around the rim.
As Madison Booker picks up her first foul, sends Maddie Scott to the free throw line, coming off that 30-point game in the win over Mississippi State. As she completes the three-point play to tie this game up.
And you see them, Ole Miss, that is, trying to deny Rory Harmon the ball. So 20 seconds now, and they're still not in their half-court set.
In the quarter, Texas 5 of 8 from the field. Ole Miss just 2 of 11. And Booker still can't quite find the stroke. She is 2 of 6. And a foul committed against Texas. Chinu went to the floor hard. It was Jordan Lee's first foul.
And Brennan, that last play for Texas was an isolation for Booker to rip and go. And she settled for the jumper. And immediately her head coach yelled at her, "Stop settling."
Yes.
But that's what you tend to do. And I'm not saying they're tired just yet. But you start looking for the easy shot versus creating the better shot once you start getting a little tired.
And she's good at the mid-range game. She's great at the mid-range game.
I was going to say,
right?
Let's give her due. She is great.
As a foul is committed on the floor. So settling, yes, but her coach wants her to get to the rim, try to get to the free throw line and create something.
Let me summarize. Yes. Madison Booker can create that shot anytime she wants. It just might not be the best shot in the moment.
She just picked up her second foul, though, in back-to-back defensive trips for Texas. Here's our ACC Big 12 Big Monday doubleheader on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern. Cooper Flagg and number 2 Duke host NC State at Cameron Indoor. Then Curtis Jones, Keyshawn Gilbert lead number 3 Iowa State against Caleb Love and Arizona.
And so you see practically 2 players trying to minimize Rory Harmon in terms of getting the ball out quick and going.
And you see the free throws popping up there. Ole Miss 8 of 11 so far. Texas just 4 for 6, and that's something both teams typically do well. So advantage Ole Miss right now on getting to the free throw line.
Yeah, I mean, for Texas, they're second in the country in free throws made, 5th in free throws attempted per game.
And that's part of why Vic Schaefer was saying go to the basket. Chinu, blocked by Madison Booker, who already had 2 fouls, but just erased that shot. She passes off to Shea Holly, no. The rebound attempt is no good, and Holly picks up a foul trying to grab the basketball. What a block from Madison Booker, wow.
Madison Booker increased her vertical by 6 inches, and it showed in every bit of that block. Not only the athleticism, but the timing to say, not here, not now.
However, Shea Holly just picked up her second foul, and Ole Miss is in the bonus. So Ole Miss doesn't have to come down in a quarter where they're just 2 of 12 from the field. Now they're getting a chance to go to the free throw line. And Chinu makes them pay. Siri Chinu, who since early in the year has increased her field goal percentage numbers to 56%. She's increased her three-point percentage up to 42%. She's a 2-time SEC Freshman of the Week, and she gives Ole Miss a 4-point lead.
Late shot clock again.
8 on the shot clock. Tanda. Booker with under 5. Pulls up. Too strong off the backboard. Remember, this Ole Miss team is #1 in the SEC in points allowed. Uwala, no. And Booker comes away with it. To that point, Ole Miss, and a foul is called on the Rebels, hold opponents to just under 53 points a game. And all of a sudden, the Texas offense has been stifled a little. Kennedy Todd Williams picks up her second foul, though, for Ole Miss.
Well, you knew something was going to give today because you've got the 6th best team in the nation in terms of points allowed per game. And then in Texas, you've got the 6th best scoring offense.
There's so many really interesting stats in this game, and it's going to be the playmaking that we'll see how that comes through in this one. Booker trying to drive. That time, Maddie Scott ties her up, but it'll stay on this end. 17 on the shot clock. The last 3 games, Madison Booker shooting 57% from the field, 25 points per game, but held to just 4 so far in this one.
And this is the thing, you hope she learned from a South Carolina game. I thought in that game she was sped up, and so she missed a lot of good looks. Right now, she looks like she's settling for the shot Ole Miss wants her to take instead of getting the best shot.
Under 2 minutes to play in the second quarter here in Oxford. Jordan Lee off to Booker, back to Rory Harmon, who sets it up. 8 on the shot clock. 4 seconds. Taylor Jones out to Harmon, who doesn't shoot a lot of 3-pointers. Short on that one. It hits the rim, and in the scramble for the ball, it's out on Ole Miss, and it will be Texas basketball. What a fortunate turn of events for Texas.
Well, the Boo Birds don't agree with this as the home fans are booing, but Emily, I agree with that call because you have Chinu falling to the ground. When Intada uses her length there and saves the possession.
So the shot clock went all the way down. The buzzer went off. Texas grazed the rim with the Rory Harmon shot, and now they get an extra possession. Jones is fouled on the shot, and she'll go back to the free throw line.
So you have Chinu playing behind there, which I agree with because of the lob would have gone otherwise. And there was nothing to do there because Taylor Jones is going to turn and score if Uwala doesn't get in there.
So the second foul on Uwala sends Taylor Jones to the free throw line. Wednesday's ESPN NBA doubleheader has the Nuggets on the road against the Knicks at 7:30 Eastern. Then Steph and the Warriors host SGA and OKC, the top team in the West. NBA Countdown tips off our coverage at 7 Eastern. Jones made both free throws. She's 6 of 6 from the free throw line to draw Texas back within 2 as the clock is ticking down in the second quarter.
And so now you're seeing a different zone, and Booker saves the day for Texas.
It looked like Uwala was all by herself, and Booker closed to block it. Jones going back to work. That quick turn doesn't go in this time. And Todd Williams tracks it down.
You go 2 for 1 here if they wanted.
Uwala posting up Jones. A little extra move underneath to avoid the block, and Uwala scores.
That's where you got to know she's a lefty. Wants to go left, and she just totally beat her off the bounce.
4-point lead for Ole Miss. About a 9-second difference between the shot clock and game clock. So, as you mentioned, the 2 for 1 Ole Miss, they could get another possession here. Booker misses again. Booker 2 for 8 in the first half. Coach Yo calling the play from the other end of the court. 6 seconds in the half. Todd Williams pulls up for 3. No, but what a first half for Ole Miss. They hold Texas Texas 0 for their last 7 from the field as we send it to the studio to Amina. Welcome back to the pavilion at Ole Miss as we honor Pat Summitt at her continued impact on women's basketball, both on and off the court. You're watching the SEC on ESPN. Welcome back to the pavilion in Oxford, Mississippi. Ole Miss leading at the half, 32-28, along with Christy Thomascutti. I'm Brenda Van Lingen. So we talked about this being the 3rd game in 6. As we take a look at the stats, the field goal percentage down below 40% as these two teams both so good defensively. We didn't expect to see a lot of three-pointers, but Ole Miss out-rebounding Texas.
And that's not a good formula for Texas. They are used to dominating the glass, limiting second chance opportunities. And I think for them, the pace of this game needs to pick up if Texas is going to get a W.
It's the 3rd lowest halftime output of the season for Texas. They lost to South Carolina. They came back and beat Richmond. And today just 28.
So now a 3-2 matchup from Texas.
So we've seen Vic Schaefer shifting up his defenses already for Ole Miss, against Ole Miss.
It looks like they went from the matchup zone into man.
As Sadler rises up for a jumper to start things off for Ole Miss. Ole Miss has only lost 1 time all year on this home court. That was against Alabama. Coach Yo told us, we didn't make Alabama feel uncomfortable in that game. That's the only game they've lost here at home.
Alabama feasted from 3 that night. Both Zay Green and Aaliyah Nye going off. I think these first 2 minutes are really important for Texas. Establish the pace and how they want this second half to go.
Maddie Scott over Muenentan on a pretty jumper. 11 points now for Scott. Texas has only lost twice all year. Both of them were on the road, at Notre Dame in non-conference play, at South Carolina just a couple of weeks ago. Muenentan just backing her way down into the paint for that one.
I said Muenentan has such great upside, but what I'm seeing is a couple of the sets they're trying to call, she's been a little off because I've seen players communicating with her in a harsh tone. And by harsh, I mean not doing it right.
As Jones comes away with it. Remember, if you're just joining us, Muenentan starting today in place of Aaliyah Moore, the typical starter, the outstanding forward for Texas, who is having some knee pain and is not available in this game. So it has made Vic Schaefer's team a little short-handed in this game.
And Brenda, we've talked about Sierra Chinu's offense, but she just saved 2 points for Ole Miss by just getting her hands up and deflecting that last pass. Mismatch on Taylor Jones down low.
She's got Sadler on her, and Sadler commits the foul, trying to push her off the block because she knew she definitely was mismatched. As we take a look at the history between these two, Texas leads 6-1. Of course, they haven't played since 2009, and now with Texas being in the SEC, this will become a new rivalry. But Ole Miss has not beaten Texas, as you saw, since 1988. As Shea Holly hits a big three-pointer from the top of the key. That's the first three-pointer in the game for Texas. And it will be Texas basketball.
So from the 3 by Shea Holly to the quick shot by Ole Miss, this is what Texas wants. They want to get this pace up a little bit.
So Sadler went to the bench with 3 fouls for Ole Miss. KK Deans on the court, number 1, defending Rory Harmon. There's that inside, just too far out of the reach of Taylor Jones.
And I don't even need, that didn't need to be a lob because the defender was high side. Just needed to be a baseline bounce pass.
Nice pass to Jacobs. Boy, a lot of contact. No foul called. Rory Harmon picks up her dribble. Madison Booker, the leader for Texas, held to just 4 points in the first half. Moinintanda rises up, and Maddie Scott with the rebound.
Texas has to be able to exploit those switches in the half court.
KK Deans, no. And a quick shot for Ole Miss. Vic Schaefer, get it back, he says to Booker, as he wants her to handle the ball up top.
Well, last year's point guard, Madison Booker. And so Vic Schaefer pretty much has 2 point guards on the floor at any time.
And Chinu picks up the foul and one, and that's exactly what Vic Schaefer was looking for.
And this is the play they went through in shoot-around today. And he said, if they don't switch, Booker, you need to go to town. And that time, she just turned the corner. There was no switch. She elevates through the contact. This is how strong she is now. Can go through the contact and still kiss it off the glass.
And it's the third foul on Chinu. Even though she picked up her second foul in the first quarter and stayed on the court, her third foul now. You mentioned it, Christy. For those that are not familiar with Texas, Madison Booker last year, when Rory Harmon injured her knee, tore her ACL right before Big 12 play, Madison Booker shifted over and became the co-Big 12 Player of the Year last year for Texas, as she took over for Harmon in the point guard position. Now she is back to her natural position.
And just picked up her third foul. And Vic Schaefer is going to go with Madison Booker here, not making any substitutions. If I'm Ole Miss, I try to go right at Booker. Get that fourth, get her on the bench.
Nice pass inside, but a foul called before the shot on Taylor Jones. That's her third.
And here's the bottom line. Your defense is predicated on how you're going to play the low post. Taylor Jones is playing to the high side. Great read by Ole Miss to feed that ball low side to Iwala. Again, allows her to use that dominant hand, that left hand to go. Taylor Jones is called for that foul.
She has to go to the bench with the 12 points and 3 fouls. And that's what you talked about on the other end. That's what Texas needed to do on the other end, as an offensive foul.
On Madison Scott there.
That's just her first foul, but it makes an empty possession for Ole Miss.
The managers of both teams may be playing by the end of this game.
Yeah, we heard that there was a great managers game between these two last night. Who won that game?
Texas did. If I remember, I think it was like 74-56.
Wow, that's a good memory.
I'm not saying it was correct, but I think that's what they said.
I mean, I think that's such a fun tradition as Madison Booker hits that 15-footer. She's hit a couple now here in the third quarter. Texas has outscored Ole Miss 9-4 since the halftime and take the lead. Scott takes the lead right back for the Rebels.
Well, Texas doesn't get matched up correctly, and then just the extra pass for that jumper by Scott.
13 points for Madison Scott. Booker, tough shot over Scott. Ole Miss can build on its lead. KK Deans, bucket. KK Deans, more three-pointers made on this team than anybody else. That's her 29th of the season. And a big shot to open up a 4-point lead. Madison Booker, Iwalu might have gotten a piece of it. Oldacre is fouled by Scott. That's her second foul.
And for Ole Miss, KK Deans is looking for a shot. Texas doesn't get matched up, so the veteran just stops and pops.
Ole Miss 21, Texas 37.
Welcome back to Oxford, Mississippi, as we take a look at the bracketology with Charlie Cream. He's got 10 teams in the SEC right now in the NCAA tournament. Texas, a 2 seed. Ole Miss, a 6 seed. And in his analysis, he said a win or a loss would probably not bump either of these teams off those seed lines, but I got to think it gives a lot of momentum to Ole Miss if they could pull off a win here today.
Well, anyone who knows me knows I love Charlie Cream. But Charlie, there are more pressing matters in the fact that we have SEC tournament first and foremost. So we're talking about seeding. Alabama just lost a nail-biter to Vanderbilt. So that means if Ole Miss wins, they go into a 2-way tie with Texas for 3rd. And everyone wants to try to finish in that top 4 to get the double bye.
So important as you look ahead to SEC conference tournament play. And Winantanda right out of the timeout drives to the paint and brings Texas within 2. She's got 6.
I think all but one possession has Texas not executed and scored out of a timeout. It's one of the areas that they have excelled in this season.
Scott blocked, fouled by Kyla Oldacre. That's her 3rd foul.
That's her 3rd personal foul. Team down to 40 on the long ones. Madison Scott will go to the line for Ole Miss, shooting 2.
And it puts Maddie Scott at the free throw line, where she's 3 for 3 so far today. Here's our featured ESPN2 Big Monday women's matchup. Tahina Pau and number 2 South Carolina will be in Knoxville to take on Talasia Cooper and number 17 Tennessee. And we have received word that Kim Caldwell will be back for Tennessee after giving birth this past week. She will be coaching at that game. And boy, South Carolina on the road at Tennessee, that will be a lot of fun.
That will be the end of the gauntlet, meaning they had 5 straight games against ranked opponents. Eager to see how Tennessee responds from that loss to Texas on Thursday.
And this time, Oldacre gets a trip to the free throw line. She committed the foul on the other end. This time, Iwala picks up her 3rd foul and will send Oldacre to the free throw line. Oldacre has not scored yet today. This is a player that averages 10 points a game for Texas, almost 7 rebounds. And that's her first point of the day for Texas.
We were talking about it during the break, but I wonder just how much the foul trouble and the injury to Moore is affecting how Vic Schaefer can, one, substitute, but also in terms of his play sets of what he wants to run, how limited he might be right now.
Yeah, his bench is certainly shorter with Aaliyah Moore not available today. She made the trip. She was at shoot-around this morning, but is not able to play today. Booker against Todd Williams. Oldacre tries to hit Lee going backdoor. Gets her own rebound.
Great hustle.
Reset.
Here's the Horns action, that double high on ball screen, trying to get Booker to the rim.
Oldacre too hard, as it was good defense by Iwala, but it will stay Texas basketball. As we take a look at foul trouble in this game, 11 of the 14 players in the game have at least 2 fouls, and you see the 3 fouls on Jones, Oldacre, Booker, and Chinu, Sadler, and Scott for Ole Miss.
So what that says to me is who can knock down free throws for the rest of this game. And credit to Ole Miss, so far in SEC play, they're shooting over 80% a game.
Shot clock winding down, and right at the buzzer, Winantanda able to knock it down. And it ties up the ball game. What a game here in Oxford, as Texas sits in a 3-way tie for 2nd place along with LSU and Kentucky. Right now, Ole Miss in sole possession of 5th place with the loss by Alabama to Vanderbilt earlier today. KK Deans hit a 3 earlier, can't get that one. Booker 3-on-3, takes it right at Deans. That's got to be an offensive foul, and that's her 4th foul.
Booker immediately comes to the bench saying, my bad, coach.
4 fouls for Booker, who right now has 8 points on 4 of 12 shooting on her return to the state of Mississippi. She grew up in Ridgeland, Mississippi. She started going to Vic Schaefer's camps at Mississippi State when he was coaching there. She's got 30 people in attendance, and now she's sitting on the bench with over 2 minutes remaining in the third quarter, and this game all tied up.
Right now for Texas, you've got 2 freshmen on the floor. The good news for Texas, Tonda has had 4 points in this quarter.
Harmon, pinpoint pass to Oldacre between a couple of defenders, and Oldacre travels.
Well, and speaking of, Jacqueline Tonda showing off her athleticism, just the quick rip and drive to the basket, and then just a quick little curl. Great pass by Rory Harmon, even better touch, and once again, a mid-range jumper.
Texas has 11 turnovers now. They average just 13 turnovers a game, but Ole Miss forces over 23 turnovers per game. Texas typically forces a lot of turnovers also, but Ole Miss has taken pretty good care of it, and Chinu now has 14 points as Ole Miss takes the lead again.
Well, as great as the veterans on both of these teams are, it is the freshmen who are making their mark in this game right now.
5 ties, 7 lead changes. Tonda, boy, it looked like Scott might have got a piece of her arm. Scott tries to track it down, saves it to KK Deans.
I love that about Tonda. She didn't worry about the foul or no call. She sprinted back and saved 2 points by Ole Miss.
Under a minute to play in the third quarter. The first meeting between Ole Miss and Texas as SEC rivals. And it will stay on this end. 20 on the shot clock.
One thing I'm seeing from Ole Miss the last couple possessions, they're settling for outside jumpers. Not mid-range, outside. They had success in driving and kicking earlier in this game.
Jacobs, a dangerous pass out to Todd Williams. Todd Williams right into traffic, and Oldacre called for the foul. That's the 4th on her. So now Madison Booker is on the bench with 4 fouls, and Kyla Oldacre has picked up her 4th foul.
I gotta tell you, I thought Oldacre just walled up there.
I did too.
I didn't see the foul.
So 2 players on the bench with 4 fouls here in the third quarter for the Longhorns.
If I'm Texas, it's time for the veterans to step up. Taylor Jones, Lori Harmon, Shea Hawley.
See both Booker and Oldacre there on the bench with the 4 fouls. Kennedy Todd Williams made the first free throw. She's just 1 of 8 from the floor today, but she made both free throws, and she's got 4. Chinu will take a seat. Tamia Sadler replaces her.
So here's the double team against Rory Harmon, where the inbound defender also helps prevent her from getting the ball, because what they're trying to do is make someone else initiate the offense for Texas.
Went all over Harmon.
And Harmon's like, I'll just come back and get it.
We had such a great talk with her today as she's recovered from that ACL injury last year. What she learned from the bench last season. Jones on the block, spins, got it. 11 seconds remaining. KK Deans crossing half court. Deans, Scott splits the defenders, hangs, no. And we will go to the fourth quarter with Ole Miss leading by 2. The Rebels have not beat the Longhorns since 1988. Could they get the win today?
50% from the field.
5 of 10 to make that 50%, along with 3 rebounds, coming off her career-high 30 points in the win over Mississippi State. They've had a week off, and Coach Yo talked to us at practice today about the cumulative effect of their defense. And with Texas having a short bench, with Aaliyah Moore not available today, they've only got 4 points off their bench today, has Texas. And Ole Miss has been wearing them down. We'll see what happens here in the fourth quarter as Ole Miss leads by 2. Jordan Lee back irons that first attempt of the quarter for Texas.
And Brittany, you say only 4 points. Well, why that's really important is because this team averages 34 points a game from their bench.
It's 3rd in the NCAA, 2nd best in the SEC, only behind South Carolina. So the fact that they haven't gotten that production, now part of that is Winnentonda is typically coming off the bench, right? And Oldacre scores 10 points off the bench. She's been held to just a couple in this game. 3rd foul on Shea Holly. Sadler. And Jones comes away with a rebound.
No stats going to give her credit for that, but Winnentonda's rotation there affected Sandler's shot.
Texas needs to find some offense here. This is a team that averages 87 points a game typically, and they've got just 45 points at the end of the 3rd quarter against this tough Ole Miss defense. And the foul called on Iwala. That's her 4th foul also.
Set play called by Vic Schaefer from the bench, and I honestly don't know that Jones was going to have even space to catch that ball and score. So Iwala bails out Texas on that one.
Star Jacobs replaces Iwala. Texas on the bench has Madison Booker with 4 fouls, as well as Kyla Oldacre with 4. It will become a game of attrition and possibly free throw shooting here down the stretch, as that one is blocked. And Sadler with the 3-pointer. Seven points now for the grad student transfer from Colorado. Rory Harmon keeps her dribble, fades, no. Jones there for the offensive board, but right away, Todd Williams and Star Jacobs are there to tie it up, and it'll be Ole Miss ball.
If you're an Ole Miss fan, this is what you're used to seeing. Defense leading to your offense. Kennedy Todd Williams with the deflection on that shot. No one picks up Sandler in transition. Open for that 3.
We mentioned 3-point shooting, not a big factor for either of these teams. Ole Miss with an advantage on Texas today, as they've made 4, Texas just 1 on the afternoon. Todd Williams pulls up, got it. The largest lead of the game for Ole Miss today is 8. And they lead by 7 now with 7:57 to go in the 4th quarter. Ole Miss starting to wear down the Longhorns. Both with 4 fouls. Neither of them are on the court right now. Iwala for Ole Miss also with 4 fouls. So that will become a factor down the stretch here, as Vic Schaefer's team has only lost 2 times all year, on the road at Notre Dame and on the road at South Carolina. Could this be their 3rd loss of the year? They go inside to Jones, who can't make that one go down. Holly dives on the floor. Ole Miss comes away with it.
Executed to perfection by Texas. Jones just couldn't get it to go. I think the million-dollar question, if you're a Longhorn fan, is how long does Vic Schaefer keep Madison Booker on the sideline with those 4 fouls?
She had the 3 fouls and committed an offensive foul in transition, as Chinu misses that one. Jordan Lee ahead to Shea Holly, and they get it back out to Rory Harmon. Jones working hard on the block, goes against Scott, muscles it in. Tough shot. Texas typically forces 24 turnovers a game. They're second best in the SEC. Today, just 6 committed by Ole Miss.
Well, you combine that with the lack of paint points. Going into the first media break of the second quarter, so that's almost 20 minutes of play since then. Only 10 points in the paint. 12, actually, considering Jones' last bucket.
Sadler with the basket, mid-range once again to push the lead up to 7. And to answer your question, Madison Booker will check in at the next buzzer. A foul called that will send Taylor Jones to the free throw line.
Well, Star Jacobs just wanted to join that graphic with her third foul.
So third foul on Star Jacobs. And Taylor Jones, who has 16 points to lead the way for Texas. 5 of 8 from the field. She's made all 6 of her free throws, and she makes that one. Here's our ACC Big 12 Big Monday doubleheader on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern. Cooper Flag and number 2 Duke host NC State at Cameron Indoor. Then Curtis Jones, Keyshawn Gilbert lead Iowa State against Caleb Love and Arizona in the Big 12. 6-point lead for Ole Miss. Madison Scott, bucket, 17 points now for Scott.
That elbow jumper is just money for Madison Scott.
These two teams have not played one another since 2009. Of course, Texas just becoming a member of the SEC this year. Too strong from Jones, and he goes out of bounds off Ole Miss, and Maddie Scott does not agree. Let's take a look.
Well, I like the fact that Texas is going to Jones down low. Couldn't get it to fall, and I gotta say, I was shocked that Madison Booker crashed as hard as she did. There was some contact there. Appreciate the no call.
Madison Booker on the court with 4 fouls for Texas. Now, before the 5-second count, I believe Vic Schaefer got a timeout. It looked like it was going to be a turnover for Texas, and Vic Schaefer saved the possession and called a timeout. Down 8. Make a statement.
Well, I think when you're trying to bring a program back to national scene, the way Coach O has tried, you got to take advantage of crowds like they have today. You got to take advantage when a ranked team comes into your gym. And she said one key to that was to limit Booker, Madison Booker, not to let her go off. They were going to throw multiple players at her, try to mix it up. And so far, advantage Coach O and her staff.
Madison Booker held to just 8 points today on 4 of 12 from the court. Scott got a piece of that. And none of the officials saw who it went off, so they said jump ball, and that's possession arrow Texas. Maddie Scott can't believe it.
Madison Scott just does so many different things to fill up a stat sheet there. That length alters because of the deflection of the shot of Rory Harmon. I mean, if nothing else, Ole Miss gets away, because otherwise it was going to be Texas ball out of bounds, so they'll get the next held ball.
5:23 remaining, 3 seconds on the shot clock. Rory Harmon needs to get it up, doesn't recognize, and has it blocked. And a shot clock violation after having the opportunity. A rare mistake for veteran point guard Rory Harmon to not recognize the shot clock.
And Vic Schaefer going with the freshman Brianna Preston in the game for the first time today. A little bit of size, a lot of speed for her, and she's on the fellow freshman she knew right now.
Scott pulls up. No. What a rebound from Star Jacobs. She's rejected, and 2 Ole Miss players are on the floor. Texas has numbers, 5 on 3. They go inside to Jones, and Jones somehow able to score through contact. Scott was just trying to stop her from going up, and Jones powered through.
Well, if you're a Texas fan, this is what you're used to. The defense with the block, getting the stop, and now pushing tempo. Booker surveying the floor. Then the freshman Preston realizes she's got Jones with the mismatch down low. Jones just powers that up.
And Jones completes the three-point play. It's the third foul on Maddie Scott, and Texas has drawn within 6 with 4:44 remaining. Now, if you're Ole Miss here, you don't want to get complacent. You've been attacking with the basketball. This is an important stretch of the game. Todd Williams, no. Rory Harmon comes away with the rebound.
I know Kennedy Todd Williams can make that shot, but I didn't like that. You've got the lead. No one else touched the ball that possession.
Jones, triple teamed, draws the foul on
Jacobs.
Star Jacobs. That's her fourth.
And that's bringing Iwala back in the floor. I like this move by Texas. Get it into your veteran post player in Taylor Jones. She's getting the seal. She's got the strength, and she's been powering it up.
So not only is Taylor Jones going to the free throw line because she was fouled on the shot, but you also have 4 team fouls for Ole Miss. So every time they foul, Texas will be going to the free throw line here down the stretch.
And without time going off the clock.
That's right. Taylor Jones now with 22 points. She's 10 of 11. That's tied her season high. And a timeout called by Coach Yo. We saw Coach Vic Schaefer save a possession for Texas earlier. Coach Yo saved it for Ole Miss there, up 3. Welcome back to Oxford, Mississippi. What a great game we have here between two SEC teams that are at the top of the standings. Texas in a 3-way tie for second. Right behind them, 1 game behind, is Ole Miss. Ole Miss trying to hang on to a lead. They've led by as many as 7 in this quarter, but Texas has drawn it within 3.
Madison Scott, another play on the floor, that ran point guard for Ole Miss last year due to so many injuries, and they were trying to get her the ball to let her execute a play.
Todd Williams, what a tough shot over Jones inside. And what a great timeout for Coach Yo for Ole Miss. It looked like it was going to be a turnover in the backcourt. Instead, she saved the possession, and Ole Miss capitalizes. Booker, who's been held to just 8 points today, is fouled, and as we mentioned, there will be bonus free throws now because of the team foul situation for Ole Miss, and Booker will go to the free throw line. 4th foul on Sadler now.
Unfortunate foul there by Sadler, because she blew up the play Texas was trying to run by just icing Booker and keeping her on this side.
And Booker hits the first. Looking ahead to next Sunday's sensational quadruple header featuring 5 top 15 teams. It starts at noon Eastern with number 2 South Carolina hosting Auburn, followed by number 5 LSU and Mississippi State. Then number 11 Kentucky and number 15 Oklahoma, capped off by Texas and Texas A&M. Wow.
Brendan, you know it's a big Sunday when I get my readers on just to see who else playing, because there's that many teams on the graphic.
Well, we can see February from here as we are winding down January. And what a season of SEC play, and we're just getting into it. Rory Harmon misses. 3 players around Jones, and then Jones picks up the foul. Now she has 4. So Ole Miss has 3 players with 4 fouls. Sadler, Iwula, and Jacobs. And Texas also, as now Jones has picked it up, as well as Oldacre and Booker. Taylor Jones tied her season high today with 22 so far. It's her 4th 20-point game of the season.
Well, Taylor Jones, one of those players that struggled against South Carolina, 0 points in that game. Well, since she's been on a tear, came in today averaging 16 in the last 3. And to your point, Brenda, having another great evening today.
Texas picking up in the full court pressure. Scott throws it to no one. Madison Booker kind of stepped over, but she's got 4 fouls. That's 8 turnovers now for Ole Miss.
She knew Rose from the corner, and Madison Booker expected her to be in the corner, and that's going to be 5 on Sandler.
So the first player to foul out, which there may be a few, Sadler defending Rory Harmon in the backcourt.
And she got her arm, I mean, she had her hand across her arm there.
So Tamia Sadler will be done. She's got 9 points and 1 assist for the transfer from Colorado. And again, it will send Rory Harmon and Texas to the free throw line in the bonus.
Really big lineup right now for Ole Miss. I'm not sure if this means Kennedy Todd Williams or Madison Scott will be running the point for Ole Miss, but she's got 2 true posts on the floor with Madison Scott.
Rory Harmon's first trip to the free throw line. She misses the first. Here's the foul trouble. Jacobs and Iwala also with 4 for Ole Miss. 3 players with 4 fouls for Texas, but they only have 2 team fouls in this quarter.
I think more than team fouls is just if you get to that point where you have to foul, who's on the floor that can give up a foul?
Yeah, that's a good point. Really good point. Ole Miss with a 2-point lead.
Good help there by Jones.
Iwala. No. Oh, and lucky she didn't get called for a foul against Jones. And it will be Texas basketball. Texas with an opportunity to tie or take the lead.
This is an ISO play for Rory Harmon to try to just go one-on-one there. Well defended by Kennedy Todd Williams.
Jones, a lot of body, but toughs it out and hits it. A new season high for Jones, and more importantly, ties it up with under 2 minutes to play. Kennedy Todd Williams looking for somewhere to go with it, and Coach Yo calls a timeout. Here's the basket that tied it up.
Well, it's kind of a busted play. Rory Harmon just picks up her dribble, and then Jones just goes to work, fills the defender, and creates the space against the 6+ footer in Iwala. Tremendous play by Taylor Jones.
So again, 1:44 remaining. Game is tied here in Oxford, Mississippi, as Texas has a couple of fouls to give, but as Christy said, they've got a lot of players with foul trouble, so they have to be careful about it. Possession arrow, Ole Miss. 2 timeouts for both teams. Texas currently 5-1 in the SEC standing. They're tied for second with LSU and Kentucky behind South Carolina. With the Alabama loss earlier today, Ole Miss sitting right behind at 4-2. Ole Miss looking for their first win over a top 25 opponent this season. Texas wants to avoid dropping another SEC game as they were preseason pick number 2 coming into the SEC this year.
I would be very surprised if Kennedy Todd Williams or the freshman doesn't get a shot here in the half court.
Chinu, the freshman, with the ball right now, defended by a freshman, and that's Brianna Preston. That's just the 3rd team foul for Texas, the first foul for Preston.
The reaction to the touch was very veteran-like by Chinu there to get that call.
You're saying she made sure the officials knew about it?
Exactly. Hence the that's my way of saying that. Yes, thanks, Brenda.
Yeah, just trying to interpret. 1:37 remaining in the game. Remember, Ole Miss had led by 7 points in this quarter. They haven't scored in the last 2.5 minutes. 5 on the shot clock. Star Jacobs short. And Texas with the basketball with an opportunity to take the lead for the first time since the 5:49 mark in the third quarter.
Trying to get the ball inside to Jones there on that play.
Booker rises up short, tracks down her own rebound. She knew immediately that she had missed it. Gets the offensive rebound and a shot clock reset to 20. And Vic Schaefer calls a timeout. What a hustle play for Madison Booker to go get that offensive board.
I mean, tremendous hustle by Booker to extend that play, but the play was designed for Taylor Jones. Why? Because she's had a day. She's shown touch around the basket, and when she's needed to step away and use her footwork to create space, she's been on money there. Tremendous hands. Her ability to keep the ball high has led to great success in the paint points today for Texas.
Taylor Jones with the 24 points, 7 of 11. Such efficiency from the field, 10 of 11 from the free throw line. She's coming off that game where she had 9 offensive rebounds against Tennessee. She had 21 points and 14 rebounds in that game.
And I got to give kudos to Rory Harmon in that whole possession. A lot of young point guards just trying to rush because they need a shot. She was so calm that entire possession, allowed players to get to their spot so that as a team they could try to execute, and then didn't try to force a shot up even though she was open from 3.
And that's Rory Harmon. We talked about, we mentioned to her today, because she was out all of last year with the ACL injury, how much she learned from the bench. And she said, I saw so many things from the bench that I never saw when I was playing on the court. So that's where some of that maturity comes in. All she had to endure as she rehabbed from that ACL injury.
I think Texas thought it was going to be baseline out of bounds, and now they're switching the calls for the sideline out of bounds. But you got to believe Madison Booker's going to get the touch, and probably her making the feed in to Taylor Jones.
10 on the shot clock.
It's an ISO for her to go one-on-one.
There she is, Booker against Chinu. Rises, no, gets another offensive rebound, has it stripped away, and it should be this end of the floor, and they're going to take a look at that as Madison Booker is holding the back of her head right now as she went to the floor hard after trying to get that offensive rebound. They are helping her up from the floor. The extra effort for another offensive board. Let's see it.
I thought she might try to go drop step by Chinu, but credit the sophomore for staying with the ball, and it was more so Kennedy Todd Williams falling on her head. Very happy that Madison Booker was able to get up from this.
And then did it go off Todd Williams? It looked like it last went off Todd Williams' hand. You see Madison Booker saying, I'm all right, I'm all right. You're under an official review right now, so the call on the floor was Texas basketball.
Yeah, and if I'm Texas here and it's baseline out of bounds, I go for a quick shot, meaning that regardless of whatever Ole Miss does, as long as you box out, you'll get a chance for another possession.
And so does Sadler, or excuse me, Todd Williams, get a hand on it.
Texas ball. The game clock will be set to 37 seconds flat.
You heard it from Jenna Cross, one of our officials, along with Felicia Grinter, Bill Lawrence. It will stay Texas basketball. So you're saying try to get a quick shot so you can get another possession, kind of a 2-for-1 situation.
Exactly, because Texas only has the one timeout left. So if they don't score here late in this 18 seconds, and then Ole Miss goes down and scores, if they don't have success, it puts a lot of pressure on that one timeout. But I'm not a future Hall of Famer like Vic Schaefer either, so.
So 18 seconds on the shot clock, 37 remaining in the game. Rory Harmon to trigger it in for the baseline.
And they're going to go for best shot. High-low.
Taylor Jones in the middle, open. Booker puts it in. Huge shot, the first lead for Texas since the 5:49 mark in the third quarter.
And Coach Yo not calling timeout to advance, not calling timeout to get anything set up.
Ole Miss down 2. Booker knocks it out of bounds. 13.4 remaining, and Coach Yo says timeout. Let's go back to the last basket that gave Texas the lead.
Well, Vic Schaefer says, I don't need to worry about the next shot because I got Madison Booker with this shot. What else but the mid-range pull-up jumper? Madison Booker's mid-range game is elite. Her ability to elevate there for the lead in this game.
And let's talk about it. She missed 2 shots and got 2 offensive rebounds on that possession that led to that basket to give them the lead.
We can talk about skill and why she's an All-American. There's a lot of heart and pride in this young lady, which is also why she is an All-American.
Here's a summary. The shooting percentages below 40% with these great defenses. Taylor Jones leading the way for Texas with that basket. Madison Booker with 12 points. But now Ole Miss down 2 with 13.4. Who do you expect it to go to?
I would give it to my veteran. I would get it to Madison Scott. She's been able to do the blow-bys today to get to the rim. But here's the thing to watch here. Texas has a foul to give. And they're going with size on the ball, putting Taylor Jones to try to disrupt the natural inbounds pass.
Ole Miss, one of their last 6. They haven't scored in the last 4 minutes. They missed that one by Scott, and a timeout called by Texas. Ole Miss comes up empty with another possession, and Texas will have the ball in the front court up 2.
I mean, isn't it fitting that there's a defensive stand by Texas to potentially get this win? And it is the freshman who just stays down, stays between Madison Scott and the basket, and does not let her turn the corner for an easy scoring opportunity.
So the officials are getting together, I believe, to confirm that the timeout was called before a move was made, so they can, in fact, advance it should they choose. Okay, so what Vic Schaefer did get the timeout. However, he is not asking to advance it to the front court. And I saw them do this in the Tennessee game also late in the game. I think for more room. What's your opinion on this? They are choosing to inbound it under Ole Miss's basket, even though Ole Miss is only down 2.
I had a coach in college that always said, don't play in the backcourt. So I would have advanced it, because if you turn it over, now you're forcing Ole Miss to have to call the timeout, gather it, whatever, and go the length of the floor.
So Texas will not advance. 2.6 remaining in the game. The Longhorns up by 2.
And Brenda, they are out of timeouts.
They get it inbounds to Rory Harmon, and 1 second ticks off the clock. So the risk pays off, and Rory Harmon will go to the free throw line. 1 of 2 from the free throw line today for the senior. A 78% free throw shooter on the year, has a chance to ice this now. Ole Miss still has a timeout remaining should Harmon miss either one of these free throws. And she misses the first.
So still a 1-possession ball game, and Ole Miss does have that timeout. So most important thing for Ole Miss here is to box out.
Harmon for the second, got it, 3-point lead, and now Coach Yo and Ole Miss will call a timeout, their last timeout of the game, to advance it to the front court.
And Brenda, I'm just going to say this again, Texas does have a foul to give. The key here, though, with just the 1.6, is that it's got to be a catch and shoot for Ole Miss. They do have technically time for 1 dribble if it's a quick one. So you got to be careful if you're going to give that foul, because you do not want to do it in the act of shooting.
You could commit it before, though,
correct,
trying to make it difficult to come in bounds, though, correct?
Absolutely. You do not want to make the foul while the ball is out of bounds, because then it just puts you, it's a wasted foul.
Right, right. So 1.6 remaining. Texas on a 13-2 run to close the game, an 8-0 run in the last 3:41, but Ole Miss still with a chance here to tie it and send it to overtime. Texas with a foul to give, but who does Ole Miss go to for a 3-point look here?
Well, first of all, if I'm Texas, I go back with putting size on the inbounder. Make this a harder pass to get in and make that shooter have to turn to shoot versus in the flow. Right now, as far as the three, your best three-point shooter on the year is the freshman. Who else but Chinu at 42%.
And she's 2 of 4 today.
And so I would look to run her off some screens. The hard part when you run her off screens, you got to believe Texas is going to switch all those screens. And a slip does you no good in this situation.
Texas had been down by as many as 7 here in the fourth quarter and came back to take this 3-point lead, but Ole Miss with a chance to send it to overtime.
So right now you've got 3 3-point shooters on the floor between KK Dean, Kennedy Todd Williams, as well as Chinu.
Ole Miss inbounds. Booker steals it away, and that's the ball game. Texas escapes with the win after being down by 7 points and close out on an 8-0 run, and a defensive play by Booker ends it.
You call it defense, I call it an interception by Madison Booker. That's just a gamer stepping up when her team needed her most down the stretch.
Texas with the 61-58 victory over Ole Miss as they go to 20-2 on the year, 6-1 in SEC play. Ole Miss drops to 4-3 in the loss. Now let's send you to
TCU is led by Haley Van Lith, averaging better than 18 points a game and 5 assists a game in her first and only season with TCU. And Sedona Prince in her last year of college basketball having a huge season. She's gone for 20 or more in each of her last 6 games. Set to take on Baylor here today. Great to be with you here from Fort Worth alongside Rebecca Lobo. I'm Eric Reed. How long has it been since TCU beat Baylor? Rebecca Lobo's hair was huge back then. She wasn't close to committing to Connecticut. Worked out for you then. It was 1990. 37 straight wins for Baylor over TCU. What needs to happen today for TCU to end that run?
They have to play to their best, and when they do that, Haley Van Lith and Sedona Prince are involved. They're making a lot of threes. They're moving the ball, sharing the ball. Certainly capable of getting that win today.
TCU's story starts last year. They were 1-17 in the Big 12 a couple of years ago. Then Mark Campbell comes in to take over as head coach. They had a very strong season last year. They were shorthanded but ended up with 21 wins. They had great success in the portal this season, adding Van Lith and also adding Taylor Bigby, joining Sedona Prince now in her second season with TCU. And this year, they are towards the top of the Big 12 standings in that fight with K-State and Baylor right now. And when you talk about TCU right now, it is that Van Lith to Prince connection.
Those two players combining to average 37 points per game, and so much of it comes within the pick and roll. They find one another. They work with one another. They are a huge key to success for TCU here today and the rest of the season.
Baylor is a team that doesn't rely on just 2. You have to look at all 5 and how they all work together.
You look at Baylor, and it's all about a balanced attack. They have 5 players who average in double figures. They look to get the ball in the paint. They have capable shooters from 3. They can also take you off the bounce. This is a team that averages 19 assists a game. Share the ball, share the wealth.
Baylor has won 6 in a row in conference play to improve to 6-1 in the Big 12. TCU is 7-1 in the Big 12, and a loud, rowdy crowd here on a Sunday afternoon in Texas as we're ready to go. Baylor and TCU. Opening tap controlled by the Frogs. They go to work. Van Lith runs the point.
See Baylor picking up in man-to-man. Key to keep an eye on Aaron Von Lay playing defensively against Sedona Prince inside.
Lost out of bounds in an early turnover for TCU, averaging 11 turnovers a game. They do a good job of taking care of the basketball as Baylor will have their first possession.
TCU also starting out in a man-to-man defense. And again, keeping an eye on that big-to-big matchup here.
Vonleh takes it at Prince. Can't get it to go, and Prince has the rebound. Van Lith shut off by Vonleh. Finds Prince. Vonleh straight up and down. Good job defensively in the fight for the rebound. Lost out of bounds. Would be TCU basketball.
And Eric, we talked about the importance of the pick and roll for TCU with Sedona Prince and Haley Van Lith. Well, that's also important for Vonleh and how she's going to defend it. And that time she helped on Haley Van Lith, did a really nice job, then recovering to Prince as well.
Van Lith playing in career game and making career starts, number 156 today. Walker got there defensively. 2 trips, 2 turnovers for TCU. Baylor trying to make them pay. The mid-range no good from Dariana Little Page Bugs. And here come the Frogs.
Nikki Collin was talking to us before the game about the importance of playing fast, hoping that they can wear out the shorter bench of TCU.
Andrews fighting for it, and another turnover by TCU. 3 trips, 3 turns for the home Frogs. Here is Nikki Collin now in her 4th season at Baylor. 4 wins against top 10 teams, most recently taking on number 1 UCLA in Newark on Monday at the Coretta Scott King Classic. Lost by 15. They fell behind by 15 in the opening minutes of that game. Bella Fauntleroy. Sarah Andrews averaging better than 11 points a game. Andrews, that's her game to pull up. That won't drop. And into the hands of Haley Van Lith. Prince, outstanding shooter. Connor got hammered by Fauntleroy. And Madison Connor will go to the line to shoot 3.
Madison Connor is a terrific three-point shooter. She's shooting 46% on the season. Look how quickly she gets her feet set, catches, and gets the ball out of her hands. But you do not want to foul a three-point shooter there.
We talked quite a bit about Prince and Van Lith, rightly so, but Connor should not be forgotten, averaging better than 15 points a game. No one has made more threes in Division I basketball than Madison Connor this season.
And what's the best compliment to a dynamic pick and roll duo is the spacer and a really good shooter, and Connor provides that.
85% from the free throw line, and TCU's on the board. Fauntleroy. Baylor off the mark in the early going. 0 for their first 4 from the field. Van Lith.